Hey guys, I'm Carly. Welcome to another plugin of the week. We are Point Blank, an electronic music school. We've got courses here in London, LA, Ibiza and online. We also offer BA degrees via Middlesex University, which you can study online or here at Point Blank in London. Head to pointblankmusicschool.com where you can find out more about our courses, which include DJing, music production, sound engineering and radio. And until the end of the month, we've got 20% off all of our online courses. This is JC, our creative director here, and today he's going to be chatting through Eventide's Reverb plugin, which is called Blackhole. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
So, yeah, we thought it would be a good idea. I mean, it's a plugin that I've always been a fan of it. It used to be a preset in the big hardware, the DSP4000 and H8000. And then became a pedal, guitar player, keyboard player, performer can use on stage, and then it became a plugin. The reason for me it was worth definitely featuring this week, it's because there's a massive reduction.
There is a chunky discount right now.
Normally it's $199 and it is currently at $47.
What a steal.
That's a total absolute bargain. I mean, this is a quality plugin.
But it runs out on the 14th of May.
On Sunday, so
a
couple of days left. Try it if you're not sure if it's for you. Try it. It's one of those reverbs. Shall we have a listen first what it does?
Yes.
I've put it on the vocal here quickly, and maybe we could even flip through some.
I just want to remind you guys that we are live and we're taking questions.
Yes,
we love your questions.
Absolutely.
So just type them in the comments section, and JC will get to them a little later on.
So let's have a listen quickly. I've got it on the vocal on this middle eight. The reason I thought it would work nicely in this piece of music is because it goes from kind of beat-driven part into a middle eight that goes a little bit cosmic.
Whoa.
So let's have a listen.
I'm so glad you found me. Now we can be. All this
And I'm going to solo the vocal so we can have a listen.
I was around, but you couldn't see me.
So the kind of reverse, backward reverb that you hear behind is the black hole. So it's not your traditional reverb. Typically your reverb would have a room, a hall, a plate, kind of simulating real spaces or real devices. So a hall is a hall, like a theater hall. A plate is a device, that was the classic plate from the 70s. A room is a room, you know, and typically reverbs are they're not always the most exciting things, but they're absolutely vital to create a sense of space. And normally, like Eventide puts it on their website, I think it's most reverb are earth-bound.
This is not.
This one is not. So let's look maybe through the parameters to start with.
Yeah, cool.
And then we'll take it from there. So at the moment I've got it on as a return on a bus. So I send it through a Nox, and you've got the mix, but the mix parameter. So the mix is 100% is wet and 0 is only the dry signal. So when you use it on the bus, typically you're going to use it on 100% and you're going to mix your single track against the return.
Cool.
Then you've got gravity. So gravity, one of the first things is kind of like what it is. Gravity, if you were thinking in terms of a more traditional reverb, would be probably something alongside the decay, but also I think the density. So the decay is the tail, how long is the tail, but also how dense it is. So gravity is kind of like dealing with kind of both, I suppose, if we had to compare it to something that maybe people can relate to. What I love about the gravity is that it can go backwards, and that's what creates backwards
the reverse
effect.
Cool.
So really awesome. Let's have a listen quickly here. I'm going to bring it into the middle so we can catch, so we can develop, listen to those parameters as we deal with.
You found me, now we can be.
this time around it's not backwards, it's forwards. But you see, it's the density and the decay is different. If you listen carefully, you can see the tail is really changing as I change the gravity. The size is a bit more traditional. It's the size of the reverb, of what would be normally the size of a room. And it can go a little bit negative as well here, from 0 to -8, -10. And it can go from really tiny box to huge, incredible space. And I think there are some nice presets that can maybe demo that. So there's this preset from Richard Divine, and I think one of them was in a box or something, or boxed in. Let's have a listen. See, the space is a bit more kind of boxed in, so very tiny, and then I can make it bigger with the size.
All this time I was around, but you.
I mean, it's such a beautiful, smooth tail.
Yeah.
I'm really big fan of it. The pre-delay is the classic pre-delay that you have on every reverb. It happens before the tail. It creates a pre-delay before the tail kicks in. It can be in millisecond, or if you hook the tempo sync it to the DAW, then you've got those values from 116 to 7 up to a whole, an entire bar. So you can really go crazy on the tail.
You found me.
Really interesting. So you've
Very
got
nice.
you've got the delay, the reverb happening literally a bar after the initial signal. So that's pretty cool. Then you've got your low and high, which is again quite common in reverbs. The low, I think, I can't remember the frequency, so I'm not going to say in case I'm making a mistake. But that's pretty much what it says what it is, you know. Minus you cut, here you boost, same for the high as well. They, again, have a lovely color. I mean, it's really affecting the color of the tail, so really useful. And then it has those modulation, which is very much part of it. Depth, so how deep is the modulation, and that's the rate, how fast and how slow. On top of it, you have feedback, which is really cool. It's kind of a feedback on the tail itself, so to create more interesting texture, and it has a resonance, like a bit of a resonance filter. That only works if you have the EQ. If the EQ is on 0, the resonance won't affect the sound. So let's play a little bit with those parameters and see where it takes us.
You found me, now we can be.
You see the tail, how it's warping, really, really interesting. See the resonance starting. Look at this reverb tail, I mean, amazing texture. So, as you can see, I mean, it's mostly really designed for large spaces, and typically it's used a lot. It's also known as one of the secret weapon in Hollywood, sound designers.
That would
you
make
know,
sense.
it makes total sense. You know what I mean? If you want to create that kind of unrealistic space,
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic. I think it has its place. I mean, I don't really use it as a room reverb. There are better reverb for that, like the T-Verb, for example, from Eventide. But for anything where you want some texture, you're more about texture than realistic reverb. It's a go-to. Big time.
It's really easy to use as well.
Really, I mean, I love
it.
the fact that few parameters, you just focus on what you can do with it. So really great, and I think it has a huge. It's a really useful tool for electronic sound designer, but electronic music. Electronic music is not always about not about recreating a realistic, like a realistic drum sound or a realistic piano sound even. Electronic is about abstract sound ultimately, isn't it? So I think with that, I mean, you can imagine what you can do with the drops in the breakdowns and stuff like that, on some synth texture, side chaining, the reverb, you know, those long reverb that you have in electronic music that you side chain with the kick and creating texture. I mean, the potential is absolutely huge, I think, for electronic producers, sound designers and any producers for that matter. So we've looked at those parameters, but there are a lot of other parameters that are really, really interesting and coming to their own. The freeze button, for a start. The freeze button, you freeze the reverb, the tail, and you freeze it. So let me illustrate.
You found me. Now
Oh, right, that's cool.
And then
And into the drop.
and into the drop. So yeah, I mean, it's instant, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. I love the freeze. The kill is useful when you have it as an insert. I can illustrate that. It's basically killing the input and only keeps the reverb.
Okay.
That's what it does. And the hot switch comes probably from the pedal, I suppose, but it's really useful as well. With the hot switch, you can literally go from one preset to another very quickly, to two settings instantly. To program it, so let's say here I've got these settings. If I program the hot switch, I keep hold on the switch, and now I can set up a completely different set of parameters. So I'm going to really make it completely different to go quite radically so we can hear the difference. Let's see what that does, for example. Okay, so I've got that, and if I move to the other one, I go to there. So
you found me. Now we can be.
I go from one to the other. It's literally a way to go
Okay.
to two different settings,
Yeah.
just like that.
Oh,
Quite
fun.
cool, really quite cool to have as well. Now, where it comes on its own, I think, is that reverb is really made to. Normally, you don't really automate. I mean, you can automate reverb, but they're not really made to be morphed and played in real time. This one is really done. Is really for that. You see this ribbon thing here?
Yeah.
You can play with it. You can drag it and drop it. You can drag it left and right.
Okay.
Now, what it does is that
Looks like a lightsaber.
it does, isn't it? I think it's totally appropriate. And what you can do is literally assign. You click on the blue, and that gives you the minimum value when that goes here. And if you
Yeah.
go there, it gives you the maximum value.
Oh, right.
But because you can do it on all parameters, all of a sudden, I'm going to do it on a bunch of them to illustrate. Let's go there. You see now what's happening?
This is so fun.
You see what's happening there?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And obviously you could have it the other way around. So if I wanted to be the opposite, I would drag it the opposite. I would do that, and it would go the other way around. So if I do that, and basically that means you can morph your effects in
Cool.
real time and automate it.
Yeah.
You found me. Now we can be. All this time I was around, but you couldn't see. You found.
Very cool.
That's very cool.
David Hunter is asking, is this more of a classic reverb rather than a convolution?
It's all modeled, so it's not. I don't believe it's. I mean, I don't think you would be able to achieve that with convolution. It's totally modeled.
Cool.
It's DSP based, yeah, modeling algorithm type of. So if we go back to there, I'm going to compare to what I had before. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, like I was saying, I've cut it on this drum as well, just again to illustrate a bit further. We've got this drum in the middle like that. And that's without it, it's already heavily processed.
Yeah.
It's been bounced, affected, tape echo, saturation, you can hear. But as soon as you bring that in the picture, and then if we have a listen dropping into the middle eight, you're going to see how effective it is.
I'm so glad you found me. Now we can be. All this time I was around, but you couldn't see me.
see, by moving all of those parameters, it's really,
Yeah.
I think it really works on that kind of middle eight here where we're going all a bit trippy from bit driven. It really works really quite well.
Back has asked, does it sound good for short reverbs too?
Yeah, it does. It does. You can have short room, but for me, it's more about texture. If you really want to simulate a real room, like I said, there are better ones.
Yeah.
Notably the reverb, the stereo room from Eventide are particularly really good. But for me, it's really about you can do small spaces, but I don't think it's really designed for emulating real small spaces.
Okay, yeah.
More do your own kind of small spaces, and it works really well on very sparse sound like guitar. I mean, you can imagine one note of guitar, a couple of notes of guitar getting into that kind of space and morphing and automating it really works. Like, let's take an example here. We've got a piece of piano from our good friend Matt Stewart Evans.
Oh, yay, Matt! Such a beautiful EP.
It is. That hasn't been released yet. I think it's a piece he's working on. But I've cut it on purpose, so I'm going to put a bit louder so we can hear it. You may have to boost a little bit, but let's have a listen. I mean, you see, for example, I mean, that typically, again, you're creating really unusual space in quite an interesting way.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So, yeah, do we have any question? Or?
I think that's it for now.
Not really.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty straightforward,
effective.
effective.
Yeah, it's really simple to use. Try it, try to demo this. And if you like it, you've got a couple of days to get it way cheaper. Less than a quarter of the price. So
yeah, get yourselves a bargain.
And try the presets by any means. There are a lot of presets. One preset from Flood and Alan Mulder, from Richard Devine, from John Aniello. I mean, really quality preset that you can start playing with as well straight away out of the box. And to program, it's quite fun.
Cool. Well, thank you, JC.
Pleasure.
Cool. Have a lovely weekend, guys. If you'd like to learn more about music production, sound engineering, or radio, just head to our website, pointblankmusicschool.com, where you can find out more about our courses. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.